You're watching Talk with Audrey. Welcome back. Even as COVID 19 cases decline in Montana, it's important to remain vigilant to ensure that the trend continues. Now, mostly unvaccinated residents have been filling hospitals in the state in recent weeks, yet nearly 13% of the population in Montana remain vaccine hesitant. My guest today is Dr. Neil Koo, a healthcare epidemiologist at the Billings Clinic, and we're going to talk about COVID 19 vaccines, ways to stay healthy as this pandemic continues, and some of the myths and misinformation about COVID vaccines. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Really appreciate you joining me. All right, so this pandemic, the numbers of cases goes up and down, but I understand you're seeing a decline of COVID 19 cases across Montana. Why should people get vaccinated?
Well, actually, Audrey, as much as we in Montana wish that was the case, we recently just attained the title of having the most number of newly diagnosed cases per 100,000 in the U.S. And I think that that vaccination is still very important and will play a very key part in controlling the pandemic and getting our numbers back down. And certainly, I think that that when we look at the other parts of countries, there is a little bit of a hope that that Montana will follow suit and our cases are decline. And as I pointed out, with the high number of cases diagnosed in Montana, certainly that there is quite a bit of disease circulating throughout the state, which is actually really one of the really reasons, probably the number one reasons that we really need to get as many Montanans vaccinated as possible.
When the vaccine was developed, it seemed like it was fast, but that actually isn't the case. Tell us more about the history of the COVID vaccine development and why it was able to be developed in such a short period of time.
Oh, I'd be happy to. So the first type of the COVID-19 vaccine that was developed and made readily available to the US is the mRNA vaccine. And this technology has, even though many of us, including the medical professionals community, have not heard of the mRNA, readily heard of the mRNA vaccines, it's been around for a couple of decades. The use has been primarily been focused on treatments of cancers, as well as other less known or less encountered infections such as Zika and Ebola. So essentially, what made what the pharmaceutical company done is that they taken this technology they have readily available and they just applied it to the virus that causes COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2, and so there is not a time needed for research and the development of a product because the product really is already there. You just had to really just to kind of modify it to the current situations. Probably a good analogy is that you have a factory that makes a specific part, and then all you do is just tweak that a little bit to make something different. You don't have to build the factory from scratch. The other component is that our government had recognized the importance of getting the vaccine out because of how rapid COVID-19 had spread globally. And so there were many steps taken to cut the red tape, so to speak, on the regulatory side to make this product available to the public.
Some people are also concerned about the vaccine's possible side effects. Talk to us about the benefits versus the risk of getting the vaccine.
Yes, and that's probably one of the biggest reason that many of patients, a number of my patients I've encountered are a little reluctant, not so much hesitant, but reluctant to get the vaccine. And I think many of it is because of their experience from prior experiences for vaccines, particularly the influenza vaccines. So the most common adverse reactions or just kind of side effects are that to this vaccine is very similar to other vaccines, and that includes feeling tired, having some headaches, muscle pains, maybe some fevers, mild fevers with some chills. These symptoms are very typically very mild. They are big, and they don't last very long, maybe about 1 to 3 days. And for the majority of Americans, they don't really interfere with their daily activities. And if they did, they certainly could be easily tempered by just taking some analgesics, such as ibuprofen or acetaminophen. Now, yes, there are some more reported adverse reaction that's a little bit on the severe side. And that includes the myocarditis or pericarditis that's reported in the mRNA vaccines, or the blood clots that's been seen in women of certain ages for the Johnson & Johnson vaccines. But compared to the disease, compared to the incidence of the same finding reactions in those who have actually developed the disease, it's much lower. So yes, there it does happen, but it's not common. For the myocarditis and the pericarditis, they usually are mild. Sometimes they do get hospitalized, mostly for observations, but they're self-limiting. And there's been no report of any persistent damage as a result of that. As far as the blood clots, certainly, that those are a little bit more serious. And but again, the incidence of that blood clots in those who have COVID-19 compared to those who actually have who received the vaccine is the disease actually caused much higher incidence than the vaccine themselves. And usually these are treated with blood thinners and such.
Dr. Koo, how can people in Montana schedule an appointment to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
Yes, and the easiest way to find sites near your home and sign up to get the vaccine is to visit the website www.vaccines.gov. And they will ask on the website, will ask just a few quick questions, your locations, and even kind of direct you to a site where if you choose a pharmacy, for example, you could either have the option either just setting up and scheduling an appointment, or many of these places will allow walk-in vaccinations. So they're trying to make it as convenient as possible. A number of them will offer all 3 vaccines, or at least 2 or 3 of the commercially available vaccines at each site.
Well, I got it as soon as it came out. I wasn't taking a chance. I think we all really just want to get back to living life. So again, everybody, that site, if you want to schedule an appointment, is vaccines.gov. Again, that's vaccines.gov. Dr. Neil Koo, I really appreciate the information. Thanks so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you.
There's more to come on Talk with Audrey. I'll be right back.